very warm welcome to you, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Arun. I'm so happy both of you are here. So, I believe this is another episode in the series of FAMSUN First podcast. Let me just tell you, what exactly we try to do. Uh, we call experts like you from the industry, from our own company, from outside the company, and we try to have a conversation with them, take good pointers, good information, and try to rather bring that information for the benefit of our audience. That is our pure motive behind this. Mr. Anderson, before we start, I request you to please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Joseph Anderson, and I work for FAMSUN USA. I am the process engineering manager. Prior to FAMSUN, I worked for CPM in several different roles. I was their sales manager over North and South America and Australia. Right. I managed their pilot plant, and I was an applications engineer during my time at CPM.
Okay. And now you're in FAMSUN.
And now I am in FAMSUN for almost 3 years.
Right. And what your exact role is in FAMSUN?
So I'm a process engineering manager. So I deal with size reduction equipment in both feed mills and oilseed plants.
Okay.
And then I also deal with pelleting, and then a few other things like cooling, crumbling,
Wonderful.
other parts.
Wonderful. Great. So coming directly to the first question, Joseph, to you. In simple terms, Joseph, what is starch gelatinization and why it is important?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So simplest way of explaining starch gelatinization, it is cooking the starch.
Okay.
Think of bread dough. So in starch's raw form, think of bread dough. What you do is you stick it in the oven, you've got moisture, you've got temperature, and you bake it, and now you have a gelatinized starch that comes out as a bread.
Okay, right. And what application does it have in pellets?
Yeah, so just like us as humans, we don't eat bread dough because our bodies can't process it very well.
True.
So until you gelatinize that starch, our body doesn't have access to all the nutrients that are available. Okay. So the same is true for animals. So we try to gelatinize that starch to give the animal access to as much of that nutrition as possible.
Right. And is this process different for different kind of animals? For example, for poultry, is it different? For cattle, it is different? How it is, or similar?
So cattle has a significantly less amount of starch in its formula,
right.
Because they are ruminant animals. They are a high fiber formula, where poultry has a significant amount of starch. So how we process them is definitely different, but gelatinization of the starch is going to be the same no matter what process you're in.
Right. Great. Joseph, why do you say pellet quality is mostly decided before the pellet mill?
So everybody in a feed mill wants to look at a pellet mill as the most important part of a feed mill because ultimately it basically makes your end product.
Right.
But a pellet mill is not a magic box. It whatever you give it is what it's going to give you. So if you don't take care of everything in front of it, it's not going to give you a good quality product. It can't make all of those effects. So if we look at formulation, conditioning, and grinding, ultimately those make up about 80% of how your end product is going to come out. So making sure that you're caring for those initial steps is really important.
Right. Right. To you, Mr. Arun, I mean, of course, the Indian audience already know about you. You have been part of our FAMSUN First previous videos also. But still, for the benefit of the audience only, I request you please once again introduce yourself before we start with the question answer.
Okay. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you once again. And I would welcome Mr. Joseph to India. I think it's his second stint in India. And you've been educating most of our farmers about gelatinization. So that's a very important topic. And I've personally learned a lot about gelatinization from you. I'll probably take it forward and put it across to many more people. To tell you about myself, I'm Arun Kumar. I'm heading FAMSUN India. Administratively, I lead the team, but I've been given the responsibility of driving feed mill business unit, which involves poultry, cattle, aqua feed, and pet food.
Right.
So that's about me, and I'm here for about 12 years now.
Already. Great, great. So, Arun, you've been in the Indian market for such a long time, I believe. My first question is direct to you. Are Indian feed mills giving enough importance to cost cutting and efficiency today? Are they giving enough importance to these two things?
From the investor point of view, I'm sure cost cutting would always be first on the mind.
Right.
And efficiency wise, yes. Of late, people have been thinking more about the power savings and how to run a feed mill more efficiently.
Okay.
Uh, we get to know about this as most of the feed mill operators, they inquire about digital factories, how to automate their equipment,
Right.
and what more data can you get to run the equipment and to know what's going to happen in the next few hours. So these inquiries help us, and then we are understanding that the mindset is more towards automation, digitization,
Correct.
and then trying to do things more efficiently.
So, if somebody is actually thinking about cutting the cost, what are the areas where they generally do it? Can you just name those parameters or those 2-3 segments which are the top ones?
I think if you start from the beginning, cost cutting would be mainly looking at your raw materials,
Okay.
where I'll not be talking too much about it because there are experts who know more about raw materials. Focusing only on the machinery, if you plan to select a good machine or try to know your market size, try to know your demand, and then you size the feed mill equipment according to your market size and demand.
Right.
So that will be the first step. Second would be without having compromising on the quality, you select the right supplier, a good branded supplier,
Correct.
and then empower your team to take decisions on the spot. So these three things I feel are most important, which becomes the first step in your cost cutting on how you run a feed.
So, if they forego these 3 things, probably, but that is not healthy for
Yeah.
the manufacturer or for the plant owner.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
make wrong selections. You make selections which may not be suitable,
Right.
and then the team handling it after that will have more problems.
Right. So, Joseph, you've been in India a couple of times already.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been to a lot of states, a lot of top clients. I'm sure you had a great experience talking with them. So, after interaction, what do you think? What are the 3 key things feed mills should focus on to improve pellet quality? Consider the Indian geography in mind.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit.
Right.
Consistency is going to be huge. So as you continue to change things, it's going to affect you in all sorts of different areas. And that can be from changing a raw ingredient.
Okay.
So if you're buying from one vendor today and you're buying from another vendor tomorrow, let's say you're buying corn, maize, they're not necessarily the same. Even if the moisture is the same, they're not necessarily the same. There's different types of corn, there's different soils, there's different environments they're all grown in, and they will all react differently. As a part of the consistency, the other thing I see is nutritionists constantly changing up formulas,
Okay.
trying to cut costs in the formula. This ingredient is cheaper today, this one is cheaper tomorrow. And when you do that, you end up wasting a bunch of time and effort in the feed mill because now you have to change a lot of parameters to get a good quality product out.
Right.
And so there's a lot of waste, a lot of recycle, and potentially the amount that you maybe saved, you ended up turning around and spending inside the feed mill.
Correct.
So from that perspective, consistency is important.
Right.
Grinding is really important. So what I see a lot, which I understand, so we don't want small particles for the animals because it is detrimental to their gut health.
Okay.
However, smaller particles are better for production. What happens in a hammer mill situation is when you try to go up, you get very large, oversized particles.
Right.
And oversized particles tend to have two detrimental effects. They will reduce your PDI, your pellet quality,
Okay.
and they will also be harder to gelatinize. Because you have a very large particle, it takes more time for that moisture and temperature to gelatinize that starch.
Okay.
Which makes it very difficult to get a high gelatinization out of your pellet mill.
Right.
Third thing I see is related to steam quality.
Okay.
So having this kind of goes into that consistency. Steam quality has a lot of variation in it. There tends to be, when we start up, we've got a lot of water in the system. We're not doing a good job getting it out. Then we'll run well, then we'll slow down. And as other things pull from the system, we just don't do a very good job of getting all of the water out, which makes it hard to get a good quality product out of our conditioner as well.
Right. And I'm sure you have seen these three things consistently in most of the clients you have visited in India?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
So what exact solution do you think, especially for the consistency first part?
Yeah.
Because I believe if I guess Mr. Arun will vouch for it. Even in India, India is such a huge region. The northern part and the southern part will have different kind of raw material. Even if
Absolutely.
it is the soil quality is different, everything is different. So how do you suggest how one could kind of surpass this threshold, easily maintain that consistency?
So there's really two parts to that.
Okay.
One, we need to get away from the nutritionist thought of every day changing a formula.
Okay.
And understand that it's okay to have several, like what I'm used to is, let's say, starter one formula. We might have 3 or 4 variations based on raw material costs, where we will use this one, or this one. But we understand that, and this would go to pulling some of that data, you have to understand your operational cost when you do that.
Okay.
So this raw material may be, let's say, $200 a ton, but my processing cost is $40 a ton. And I need to understand those two because I need to know the total cost. Is it worth changing my formula based on the total cost, not just off the raw material cost?
So would it be like we need to have an acceptance within a range? It's like that, because there are certain things which even manufacturers cannot control, right? So
Correct.
So shall we accept a range you're talking about?
So it's less of accepting a range and more understanding the variables. So we understand that if I buy maize from one supplier, this is how it operates inside the system. If I buy maize from another supplier, this is how it operates in the system.
Okay.
And part of that is going to be collecting all of that data, and it's going to take time to figure that out.
Okay.
But if you take the time up front to figure out all of that data and understand how it affects everything, then long term you will have a much better solution.
And the solution will vary individual company to company. That is also a point. Maybe some company in southern part of India, well, you'll give a different solution to that company.
Correct.
And somebody in Delhi or northern part of India will have a different solution.
Because they will have different raw materials.
Raw materials and all.
Even though, let's say, 60% of your formula is corn, maize,
Right.
it's not going to be the same in southern India as it is in northern India.
Super.
So your settings inside your grinding, your conditioning, all those settings are going to slightly change.
Great.
And understanding how that is going to affect it.
Fantastic. Another attached question to this, Joseph. How do temperature, moisture, and time affect feed performance?
So temperature, moisture, and time are the 3 variables into starch gelatinization.
Okay.
So the temperature and moisture, it will slightly depend on your material. But the temperature and moisture for starch is pretty well, we're at the limit of the pellet mill.
Okay.
So at the limit of the pellet mill, depending on some other things, about the maximum moisture you can pellet is 18%.
Okay.
And temperature, we're typically around 82 degrees C.
Okay.
So the time perspective has to do with the size of our particles. So the bigger the particle, the more time we need to be able to migrate that moisture into being homogeneous inside of that particle, all the same. We want the moisture and the temperature on the outside to be the same as the inside. The smaller the particle, the less time is required to be able to absorb that heat and moisture.
So the variable would be the size of the particle we desire, and the second variable would be the animal we are making for, right?
Yeah. So if you're doing a high fiber formula for cattle,
Yeah.
we have a lower temperature and moisture because we're doing a lot more fiber than we are starch.
Right.
So it doesn't have the same effects on fiber.
Great. Fantastic. Arun, back to you. Okay, so you 12 years of experience. Before that, also, I mean, you had engineering experience. You have seen most of the Indian clients already, whether it is poultry industry, aqua, or whether it is cattle, right? So, what are the biggest gaps and challenges, Arun, we have seen in Indian feed mills, whether it is any kind of poultry feed mill or animal or aqua feed mill, they face when it comes to achieving consistent pellet quality? This is in extension to what Joseph is talking about. What are the gaps you identified in the Indian market?
Okay. Talking about our feed mills, and of late I've had an extensive tour to visit, I think, the top 3 feed millers in India.
Okay.
So it was a good tour where I learned a lot.
You want to name those 3 feed millers?
No, I'll just keep it.
Okay.
So it gave me a good exposure.
Okay.
Leaving the pellet quality aside, I will just talk about 2 important gaps. There are a lot of voids in running a feed mill that I've observed, but I'll just focus on 2 important gaps.
Okay.
The first one would be, they have a lot of output from the feed mill.
Okay.
So, and there are some parameters that they would want to test immediately, get results, so that they can take immediate corrective actions. But there are not good test centers or lab equipments that really helping them, especially the feed millers. Example, gelatinization is something. There's not a good lab. You have to send the test sample to a lab, and then you have to wait for a few days until you get back the report. Then you start making the changes.
Okay.
This is just one of it. So like that, there are other samples which it's difficult to get the result immediately. So my suggestion is if probably a group of feed millers could come together, set up a small lab or test center, which can be commonly utilized by people around that. I think that would be great.
Okay. So there's the first gap.
That's the first gap. The second gap I would focus is on empowering your feed mill team, the operators, with data.
Okay.
Right now, irrespective of any supplier you see,
Okay.
the feed millers have data with them. Or people are so talented, I've observed, they have data at their fingertips. You ask them what is the output of the dye, what is the life of the dye, they are good enough to give you within few seconds. But I think it becomes more important, you have that data on the paper. At the end of the day, you have the owner or the shift manager sitting, discussing across each other about the data, how do you analyze the data. This is more important, for which you need to have automated systems specifically for each machine. And this is very important, irrespective of any feed mill supplier. Right. So my focus would be on, or advice would be on, try to automate, put it into paper, and then you empower your team to understand and have an open discussion with them, probably at the end of the day or end of the shift or end of the week.
So a good operator will always help in getting out the best results out of a feed mill. That is what you're saying.
Absolutely. You have a lot of talents around you. You just need to identify, empower them, and then you get the best results.
Wonderful, Arun. Right. So, Joseph, how does better processing improves feed conversion and reduce cost? I mean, firstly, we'd like to understand, what all those better processes are and how actually they are helping in reducing this cost.
Yeah, so a few things can go into reducing cost.
Okay.
Your process from start to finish, making sure that your process is efficient in the way that it was designed I don't feel like enough feed mills take the time up front to make a very good, high quality design before they start to break ground, because we're always in a hurry to make sure that we're meeting our need for new capacity. And that upfront design part is crucial in making sure that we get a good, efficient design. One of the other things I see, customers are scared to run their equipment at high motor load. So on a 3-phase electric motor, you're going to spend 35% of your energy just to spin the motor. That means no production. So it's not linear from that point on. So 70% motor load isn't 70% production. So running at 95, 98% motor load gets you better utilization of your energy, which gets you a lower cost per ton.
But why they are doing so, Joseph? What do you think? Why they are running at a lower load?
So this is where automation helps.
Okay.
So operators, nothing against operators, we would all do the same. If I can make my job easier, I'm going to make it easier.
Right.
To run at 98% motor load, it requires much more interaction.
Okay.
So I'm constantly adjusting variables, moving things.
True.
To run it at 70% motor load, if I have variation, I have plenty of room to absorb that variation. So from that perspective, you're running less efficient. It's just easier. And when you don't have enough operators or you don't have the automation, it is harder to run at the higher end. But the closer you can run to 100% motor load, the more efficient you are.
So, I mean, what I can understand from this point, Joseph, is that we need to involve automation in most of the plants that will directly, indirectly affect the last part of it, that is the cost. That is what you're trying to say.
You will find that automation typically pays for itself very, very quickly in overall plant efficiency and reduction of manual labor inside the plant. The more automated processes you can put in place, the more efficient you are from a total perspective, because you have more consistency.
Right. And what do you think automation, because generally the initial perception is will increase the cost of the plant. What do you think, how quickly the plant can cover that cost?
So I'm not as familiar with your market rates on labor and everything else, but generally speaking, it's typically less than a year. If you do the hard part is if you do partial automation in each area, it's not as good because one machine doesn't talk to another. And so it's hard to get the plant optimized because you're still running around adjusting each machine.
Correct.
To make it consistent. If you automate the entire plant, now you have operators in one room who are looking at everything.
Easily.
And if you have a good quality automation, you can say, I want this batch, this many tons of this product, and it will go through and it will do all of that automatically and adjust your motor loads and do everything to run an efficient plant. Plus, you have data based on previous runs. It knows automatically, I start the feeder at this rate, I start steam at this, because it has past history.
Super. Great. So initially, even if you shell out little extra bucks for automation,
Yes.
probably you are going to get much more benefit in short and mid and long term, I believe.
Absolutely. So you get the benefit of reduced cost, and you get the benefit of a more consistent product.
Perfect. So another one, Joseph, related with this. What do you think, Joseph? What is that one common mistake you see in most of the feed plants they are generally doing? Talk about Indian feed mills. One common mistakes they are doing these days.
One common mistake I see a lot of, so there's two ways to make a durable pellet.
Okay.
The first way is to gelatinize the starch very well. When you gelatinize the starch, it becomes a glue.
Okay.
The key part of that is just like baking a bread. If it's already been gelatinized, you can't re-bake the bread and make it glue back together. So you
Okay.
get one chance to do it right.
Right.
So you have to have a raw starch coming in, you gelatinize it well, and it will glue the pellet together.
Okay. Okay.
Gluing the pellet together requires a lower L over D,
Okay.
which means your processing rates go up and your wear goes down. What I see a lot of is the other way of doing it. And the other way of doing it is you're not doing a good job in your grinding and your conditioning. And the other way to make a pellet is by force and friction. So when you put that mash into the die, you're pushing hard, you're using a higher L over D ratio, and you're using that friction inside the die hole to create a lot of heat. And what that heat does is it skins the pellet. So the outside of the pellet gets a bunch of heat, which gelatinizes the outside layer,
Okay.
which holds the pellet together, but the inside is still crumble. So you're not doing a good job gelatinizing your starch, which means you don't get a good glue. You just glue the outside. So you're getting a lower feed conversion. You're getting potentially a harder pellet to achieve your durability, which is harder for the animal then to process as well. So I see a lot of really high L over D ratios when trying to make poultry feed.
So one sentence, if we summarize this, would be what? Gelatinization. That's it. Or
It's all the prep work and going in to make it. You can make a good quality pellet,
okay.
and understanding the reason why you're making a good quality pellet. And most people don't understand. It sounds counterintuitive to use a lower L over D to get a higher quality pellet. And understanding how to do that
For
is
the
important.
benefit of audience, the term which you're using, L over D.
Sorry.
Let us go in detail about so that they understand.
Yes. So
So
L
what
over
is
D
it?
is
Yeah.
length over diameter.
Right.
So it's a ratio that we use to determine basically the compression
Right.
of a die.
Right.
So we can take a 4 millimeter hole and a 5 millimeter hole, and the L over D will be the same. So the depth of that hole will grow as your diameter gets bigger.
Right.
It's just more room for friction and resistance
And
in that die.
is there a perfect or a good range for this L over D one should keep in mind?
So L over D is going to vary a lot based on your formula, the way you grind and the way you condition. If you do a really good grind, a really good quality condition, and you're doing a poultry feed, I mean, you're probably pelleting on a 9 to 12 L over D.
Okay.
But what I'm experiencing in a lot of India is a lot of customers are using 15 to 18 L over Ds because they're not doing the upfront processing.
Okay.
So they have to make up for those mistakes inside the pellet mill.
Correct. Great. Okay, so back to you, Arun. So I mean, you've given a wonderful explanation about how your experience about the top players in India. Tell us, Arun, what differentiates FAMSUN from other solution providers in Indian market? What do you think? I mean, you are there. There are other players also, and there are other local players also. Where we are placed, and where do you think we differentiate ourselves from other players in Indian market?
Okay. I think you also know the tagline of FAMSUN,
Yeah.
integrated solution providers.
True.
So we truly stick by the tagline. We started off selling individual equipments when FAMSUN started business in India as Muyang. And slowly we understood that people are looking at complete solutions. They don't have the time and energy or the teams to do it, and they want the supplier to be giving the entire solution. And we started brewing on this. We started delivering complete equipments, right from the input dumping point to the final packing machines.
Right.
But still, there was a gap that we could not do the structure, the erection part of it. And then we had the Indian entity from which we built on, and now we are delivering the total feed mill as a package. So it's the equipment from China, completely manufactured under one roof in China, where we assure proper quality. It's not done at different parts. So it's just one roof. And we are proud to say that, we have the biggest manufacturing ability in the whole world as compared to other competitors to manufacture these machines, animal feed machines. And then, along with the ability in India, with such a big team size of about 45 plus people,
Right.
we also support in erection and then steel structure. So thereby giving a complete package. So it's a drastic change from where we started on, and now we are here in India, sticking to the tagline.
In a very short answer, I'd really like to understand where we were in last 5 years, where we are today, and where do you see next 5 years FAMSUN in India?
Okay, right from the beginning, I'm sure anybody would face these questions.
Right.
You are a Chinese company, and what about your service?
Correct.
You don't have an office in India.
Yeah.
What about the spare parts? I'm not sure when you would wind up. Many questions like this, very embarrassing. So we picked up each of these questions and started challenging, and then we reported this to the management. Actions were taken, not quickly, but then over a period of time. Right. Now we have a good office at Hyderabad, Somajiguda, and we plan to have a better office in the future.
Right.
We've developed on the spare parts Gordon. It's a small one, and we plan to have a bigger one. The team was about 2 or 3 people in the beginning, I remember. It was just me, Mr. Ranganath, and then now we are about 45 plus people.
Sure.
Even the Chinese. So it was just the sales team that was coming and going back to China. Now we have a big guest house where at least 7 to 8 people are always stationed in India, out of which more than half of the team are experts.
Right.
People into PLC programming, automation, service experts. And thanks to the policies now, it's become a little easy for the Chinese to apply visa and get it. Apart from all these things, if you look at our social coverage, I think thanks to you, most importantly, we have done wonders in this.
Really?
If we are visible now and people know us, I'm sure it's because of your marketing efforts. So
Thank you.
I will really appreciate this.
And where do we see around in next 5 years? What do you think where we are going to be?
Besides the animal feed mill business unit, silo is something that we've caught up drastically.
Right.
We've crossed the 100 mark, which is something to celebrate. And we are coming up with grain to ethanol. We've had two or three success stories like Ankur, Nirani, and GM.
Wonderful.
And many more to follow. Oil seed processing, the preparation and the extraction part of it, we have an expert, Mr. Murali, and then again in the ethanol, Mr. Sudarshan. So these two are experts, they are working on it. These two business units, I'm sure, will help us to build on the turnover part.
Okay.
So,
So we are expanding in various segments.
So we're going close to about 25 to 30 million. I'm sure it's going to double in the next 5 years, double or triple even.
Wonderful. Before, Joseph, I move with you to the next segment, a short segment. One final question to you. I really want you to answer this. So, Joseph, if you had to give 3 simple tips, and this is specifically for the Indian consumer, for the Indian market. If you had to give 3 simple tips to improve feed quality, what would they be? 3 simple tips. Short answers.
Short answers. Smaller standard deviation inside your grinding. So, yes, I'll give short answers.
Yeah.
Smaller standard deviation is important.
Cool.
Conditioning quality. So making sure that we have enough mixing time in a conditioner, not just using retention bins. Third one, using our rolls to create a pad inside of the die rather than having roll to die contact.
Could you please explain the third part? It's
Yes.
very interesting. Yeah.
So, a lot of places I have visited, the operators want to put the rolls as close to the die as possible.
Okay.
When they do that, it does a lot of things. One, you have metal to metal contact. So you have significant increase in wear on both your die and rolls, which obviously impacts your cost per ton in operation.
Right.
Because you're wearing out these products prematurely.
Okay.
The other part of that is it reduces your ability to gelatinize your starch, because when you gelatinize your starch, like I said, it kind of glues itself together. By creating a pad, basically removing the roll slightly from the die face, you create this pad of material, and the material wants to stick to itself.
Right.
So it helps us add more temperature and moisture into the product, which helps us gelatinize the starch better because it will stick to itself without slipping, roll slip.
Wonderful. So, before we end this wonderful conversation, Joseph, I really want to do one short rapid fire with you, right?
Yeah.
You have to answer most of the question, all of the questions in either one word or a very short one sentence.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So, should I start?
Sure.
Right. So, Joseph, you have to choose one. Would you prefer hammer mill or a roller mill?
Roller mill.
Right. Do you believe steam is more effective than water for conditioning, or should both be balanced?
Both should be balanced, and I have to give a little explanation to it.
Okay.
So we're trying to achieve a certain temperature and a certain moisture.
Okay.
Based on your incoming product, if you use too much steam, your temperature may be too high.
Okay.
If you use too much water, you will not have enough temperature. So you're balancing those to get the proper temperature and moisture. But it is important to note that water takes more time, retention time, than steam does.
Right. Okay. In your view, what matters more? Higher temperature or longer retention time?
That's a hard question.
Okay.
Both
But we need a short answer.
both are really important. I can't tell you, they are correlated together.
Okay. So you can explain that part, I believe.
Yeah, so you have to reach your temperature to gelatinize your starch.
Okay.
And the retention time piece, ideally is in a conditioner, not in a retention bin, because we need the mixing. But you have to have enough time to get that temperature and moisture homogenized in that particle. So if you don't have enough time, it's only on the outside. We need it to go all the way through the particle.
So both will go hand in hand.
Both go hand in hand.
Right. If you had to prioritize one, only one, would you focus on pellet quality or production rate?
They can be correlated.
Okay.
The answer is I would focus on quality, because it is ultimately, if you make a lot of a poor quality product, it's not going to help your animal.
True.
We want a higher feed conversion so that we don't have to spend as much money. But they're correlated. You can actually do both together.
But pellet quality is something which you prefer.
Pellet quality, I would prefer.
Cool. What do you think is the most underrated factor in feed processing today? One, underrated, most underrated.
Most underrated factor is a good quality operator.
Wonderful.
So in my experience, I would rather pay slightly more for someone who is very, very good at that job, because they will make up that pay significantly. If you have someone inside that knows what they're doing and knows how to operate, it is totally different in the quality and the efficiency of a feed mill.
Super. How would you describe a perfect pellet in one sentence?
A perfect pellet is a high quality mixed pellet. So everything is the same from one pellet to another.
Wonderful. What is the biggest mistake feed plants make according to you? Please limit your answer to Indian market. One mistake.
So it will depend on the feed plant, and I've visited both. If you have a high automated feed plant where you have a control room, the biggest mistake I see is you have an operator that sits in the control room and never leaves.
Okay.
If you don't go see the equipment and feel the equipment, you truly don't know what's going on. Not that you shouldn't be in the control room,
Correct.
but you should take a lap and listen and feel to what's going on around you.
Super.
In a non-automated plant, The biggest mistake I see is kind of like what we talked about earlier, just the lack of pushing the equipment, just running low rates and safe,
Okay.
and it just makes everything more difficult.
Okay. What is one habit every feed plant operator should follow daily? One habit.
Regularly out with equipment taking samples. So if it's automation, great. If it's not automated, it doesn't matter. Even with all the sensors in the world, we should be out looking at the product. We should be feeling the product. Sensors and data collection is great, but there's nothing like putting your hands on it. And so spending time actually out with it is one thing that I think is crucial that everybody should do.
Superb, Joseph. So the last question, I believe we'll end after this. What are you, Joseph? A coffee person or a tea person?
I drink tea.
Wonderful. So after this conversation, we are going to have a cup of tea, all three of us. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Arun, for your time.
you.
It was wonderful talking with both of you. I mean, you have given such a wonderful pointers. I'm sure the audience is going to love it, love all the points. Thank you once again.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think this is going to be an important discussion in our FAMSUN first series with Joseph around. Every answer that is given, I think, is a lot of data.
A lot of data.
A lot of numbers and a lot
it's
of
gold.
data.
It's pure gold.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're privileged.
Glad to help.